Are you sick of waking up with anxiety and regret after drinking? I get it. I was a weekend binge drinker, fooling myself into believing I was detoxing all week, only to retox every weekend and live completely outside of alignment with my values. As a former personal trainer who cared about health, that disconnect pushed me to finally make a change. I'm Maureen Bankovich, and this is Sober Fit Life, a podcast where we get real about alcohol, share powerful stories, and learn from wellness experts so you can thrive physically, mentally, and emotionally. Let's get sober fit. Have you ever Googled, am I an alcoholic? Me too. And here's the thing, it's not a helpful question. Those quizzes just slap on a label. Yes, you are. No, you're not. But what if it's not about the label and more about how drinking actually makes you feel? That's why I created Am I Drinking Too Much? It's the quiz I wish had existed when I was searching. No scare tactics, no rock bottom required. You'll get your results and a free guide that explains gray area drinking, plus 3 science-backed strategies to reduce or interrupt cravings. Take it at soberfitchick.com/MI. That's MI, as in, am I drinking too much? soberfitchick.com/MI. Welcome back to Sober Fit Life. I am really excited today to bring on a guest that I met at a women's entrepreneurial conference in California. I think it was like 2 years ago now.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. And it was a really fun retreat with other women, mostly coaches. Many of us, I think all of us actually, had stopped drinking and were turning our experiences into some sort of coaching around changing our relationship with alcohol. But when I met Rebecca, she just has this magnetic personality. She's so interesting. She's an artist, very creative, and she takes that art and her love for art and helps people when they're changing their relationship with alcohol to tap into their creativity. And so that helps them to really reclaim their lives from alcohol, old patterns, and limiting beliefs, not just by talking, which is important, but also creating. So we're going to get into that a little bit today. You have a coaching journey called Unfold. I love the name of that title. So we want to hear more about that. And she does beloved watercolor workshops, really tapping into that creativity. Rebecca invites women to awaken their wild, wise, deeply creative selves and remember who they were before they were told by the world who they should be. Rebecca, I'm so glad to have you here today on Sober Fit Life. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing well. It's good to see you and be together again.
Yeah. We were just talking before recording that both of us have been blessed to have just been in Europe.
Yes.
I was in a Mediterranean cruise, Turkey and Greece, and then ending in Rome, and you were just in France.
Yes, that's right. So we left our energy there.
Yeah. Well, but it's so different, right? You come back from a vacation like that when you're not drinking, and you don't need a vacation from your vacation.
Oh, good point. Yeah, because you're not all tapped out. And yeah, very good point. I think I was sharing with you that going back to Paris, it was my first time being in that city, living this alcohol-free lifestyle. And I've been to many places since I've changed my relationship with alcohol, but that was just one. I think the last time I was there was maybe 9 years ago. So yeah, so it's always just a little reminder to me, how life was before. And how great it is to, like what you said, you don't need a vacation from your vacation because you've been present and you're waking up every day to new experiences and you feel good. So
yeah,
awesome.
I still pinch myself all the time. Like, wow, this is my life now.
I know. And
know?
it might sound kind of corny because I
Right.
remember when I was, I so much identified as a drinker, a red wine drinker. I mean, that was part of my identity. And I'm glad that we can chuckle and laugh about, because I probably used to have the mentality of what's wrong with you, if you're not drinking, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of funny to see the full circle, but yeah.
It is. And that's why we can relate to the women, the people that we coach, because we were there.
Absolutely. Wow. Yes.
But when you and I met in California at this conference, what was going on with you at the time? How far into your alcohol-free lifestyle had you been?
So let's see, was that in 2023 or
22 or 23?
2024?
I'm terrible. Yeah, I think maybe 23.
Yeah, late 23 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So, gosh, maybe 2.5 years ago. So probably I had been alcohol free for almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, for me, I became really curious about my relationship with alcohol in my late 50s. I would say is when I realized I just knew I was, drinking way too much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, yeah, I made the big change like at 60. And so my love has turned into really working with women in this well into midlife.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 65 now, I'll be 66 in just a few weeks.
You
But
look amazing, by the
oh,
way. You do.
thank you so much. I feel really good. And yeah, it's just you, I think you do kind of when you finally make the change, and we can talk about the journey to get there because
Mm-hmm.
it's different for everyone, and we
Right.
all have it's never a straight line to the goal. A
Yeah.
lot of twists and turns. And for me personally, because I had been drinking my entire adult life, and I had started drinking really young, like 13,
Yeah.
was
Same
the
with
first
me.
time. Yeah. And I didn't grow up in a family. This is what's so crazy. So it was kind of the opposite in my family. So there was not alcohol in the house. But I come from a large Hispanic family, and some of relatives did, but it was not like, a big thing in my personal, intimate family. However, the culture in the 70s, and I grew up in Los Angeles in Southern California, and it was a very sort of free spirited time.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of, I just remember having lots of freedom, like at 15 and 16, even in high school, to be able to come and go as we pleased. And I had older siblings and, kind of the party thing. And the only thing I knew about alcohol really was probably more from like a religious thing, like, alcohol bad, God doesn't like alcohol, that sort of thing. So of course, when you're a teenager, at least the kind I was, just always, wanting to experiment and curious
Sure.
and yeah, you never come from a bad place,
Right.
yeah, you just kind of, and there was a slumber party of some of my friends, and somebody had older siblings that brought a six-pack of beer into, I just remember it showing up. And I knew that I wanted to try it. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to taste it. I was curious. And it was those Old English 101. I don't even know if they make that anymore. And I've never been a beer drinker, but that was my first taste of alcohol. And I was so sick. Yeah, I got really, really sick. And the next morning, I didn't understand hangover. I didn't know what was happening. I just was really sick. But I do remember feeling that kind of a little bit of the numbing, a little bit of the, it's not really euphoric, but you feel like a little fuzzy around the edges and a little maybe more relaxed, a little more wanting to fit in, be cool. Um, and that always kind of stuck with me. I liked that.
I was going to say, did you recall that you actually liked it?
I liked that. I
Yes.
didn't like the being sick part
Sure.
at
But it
all.
always starts out kind of innocently, right? And whether we have older brothers and sisters, I was the same way, being a bit of a rebel. Of course, you want to try this thing, being curious. But then fast forward kind of, so you try this, you get sick, but yet, and I had that experience too, we go back to it.
Yes, and it was probably at a party, maybe fast forward a year, or now I'm in high school because
Hmm.
that was junior high school. So now I'm in high school and maybe around the 15, 16, and I remember there was always
Yeah.
always alcohol at football games, at the parties after the football games, at the dances. Yeah, it was always a thing.
Yeah.
Like, right? Somebody always had it. I always partook.
Hmm.
Um, Actually, looking back now, some really scary times, like grateful to be alive,
Driving, drinking,
or
driving, being in
being
a
with
car with
people
someone
that,
driving. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so then, pretty typical. Early 20s, I got married young, a first marriage, and that was not a real healthy
Hmm.
relationship. And there was drinking, and he was older and was already 20, at the time, I guess 23. Um, and because I hadn't really been educated about alcohol in the way that we know now.
Now, yeah. I mean, none of us were. We didn't know what we were doing. Yeah.
Exactly. It was just kind of the woo, let's
Sure.
go have fun. You want to be older, you want to be grown up, you want to be glamorous, um, very visual. Yeah, but then it was in that relationship, I saw the ugly side of alcohol, like where it turns people into, maybe somebody like totally. It just,
Hmm.
you don't, you're not dealing with somebody in their right mind. And then I would also drink, and then that relationship ended very quickly because I recognized that I wasn't going to live in this way. I was young, like 21, 22, and
Really
I
young.
knew that I was not going to grow old in this kind of craziness. Good people, but just doing really,
Hmm.
really bad things to ourselves with the drinking. And I had a son. We had a son in that marriage, but it ended early. And then there was a lot of judgment around me leaving that
Mm.
relationship because we're going way back.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, you don't divorce in my family.
Right.
It's kind of that, a little bit of the underlying guilt and shame, embarrassed enough about why the relationship was ending because there was a lot of stuff that shouldn't be going on.
Well, and we didn't talk about things like we do now, right? You could never imagine you'd be on a podcast right now talking about this back then. Yeah.
Exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. But it was devastating, and I
Hmm.
was scared. And I recognize now that drinking became kind of a numbing agent during that period of
Right.
time. I wasn't a daily drinker then. I was working, and we would, there was a lot of happy hours and social drinking. And I think I was probably more of a binge drinker back then because I remember not drinking all the time. It wasn't the
Yeah.
culture yet for me. But when I would go out, I'd always have a few cocktails, and many times one too many.
Oh, yeah. I was a binge drinker, weekend binge drinker, so I can completely relate.
Yeah, in the 20s. But I
Hmm.
was also a young mom. So I remarried in my mid 20s, and I'm still married to my husband now, 39 years. It seems crazy that
Yeah. And you
so,
shared with me that you too at some point moved to like a country or a countryside, suburban area that had a lot of vineyards. It was a vineyard
yeah, in the
culture.
state. Yeah, so we moved
Hmm.
from California to the Texas Hill Country, which has like a wine trail
That's it.
kind of culture. I did that once we were empty nesters
Ah.
because the kids were up and out, and so we moved to yes to the beautiful. It's beautiful, the
Hmm.
Texas Hill Country. And I think I kind of felt and this is now I'm approaching into my close to 50s at this point. And so during the 20s, 30s, my 30s, 40s, 50s, it was about working and doing it all. The women, we could do it all. We could work, we can bring home the bacon, we can
Fry it up in a
be
pan.
great.
Yep.
Yeah, remember that commercial?
Yeah, Charlie. Yeah, I do.
You're supposed to be sexy and make money and still be a wife and a,
And be able to
bunch of
party.
BS. Who's
Hmm.
going to do it?
Right, right.
You're going to do it all because you're a woman
Yeah.
in the 70s and the early 80s. It's so, yeah, marketing. Anyway, I dealt with a lot of what life threw at me, and there was a lot. There was divorce, loss of a child that had
Hmm.
been born and lived 1 month.
Yeah.
There were um, just all the difficulties that come with relationships and having children where you're sharing custody. And even though that probably went pretty well, it's still, I think, because I didn't have words. I was never really that great at expressing or causing waves, or I don't like confrontation.
Yeah.
And so I think I drank,
Yeah.
really, for
Yeah. You're
that reason.
ticking a lot of the boxes, from starting early, and then the traumatic first marriage, and then dealing with the cultural shame of the divorce, and alcohol was there through all of it. But we didn't know, right? We were just doing the
Right.
best we could with what we had.
Yeah. And we never looked at it as a drug either, like
Nope.
cocaine or some of the other things that were going on then. Not that
Because
I
of
didn't
clever
dabble.
marketing. Because of clever
Yes,
marketing.
it
Yeah.
is. We know it now. Even remember with my kids during the 90s, during the Just Say No to Drugs campaign. But yet everybody had a drink in their hand telling their kids just say no. I
Right.
look at that now and it's like we have one liquid drug and we're saying, but yeah, all these kind of oxymorons, all this
Yeah.
stuff
Well,
that doesn't
and
make
we were meant to be, as the lobbyists, they're very powerful, the alcohol industry, big alcohol as we call it. And they lobbied very hard to have that drugs and alcohol statement to separate it out. So that we're like,
Yes,
well, we don't do drugs,
you're
but we
right.
drank.
But we drink. Yeah, we drink. Everybody drinks. You need,
Yeah.
and then what are you told? Take the edge off,
Yeah.
yeah, you're sad.
Hmm.
Oh, let's have a glass of wine. Or you're celebrating. Oh, let's have a glass of wine.
Everything. So you're in your 50s, you're living in this beautiful community, there's vineyards, and your lifestyle is becoming sort of revolving around this, if I remember what you were telling me.
It sort of did because it's so funny to think about. I made such great girlfriends that were my age and older, and we all rallied around, having wine in the evenings or playing, all of the cliches you hear about what women do, bunko, and we call it drunko because
Yeah.
that's really what we would do.
Yeah, sure. It was an excuse to get together and drink, like book club, all those
Anything
things.
was an
Hmm.
excuse, right? And I was always the one, oh boy, I brought my bottle of wine and I wanted
Hmm.
everyone's glass to be just as full as mine. That was all fine and good if it had remained that way. Uh, I
When
looked
did
at,
it turn? When did it change for you?
I think when it became a daily thing to open up a bottle of wine at dinner time, and it was like an excuse to be, it's what you did. And
Hmm.
then during dinner, and, I was having wine every night. Um, and it may have started out with sharing a bottle of wine. But now, 3, 4 years in, you're drinking your own bottle of wine and then some. And then I found myself drinking before events were to be like,
Pre-game.
yeah,
Hmm.
right. So I'd have a drink really quick at home. All the things that we start doing.
Now, was that for any sort of like social anxiety, or just you were feeling like, hey, I want to get one more drink on before I go there?
You know, it's so interesting, Maureen, because now we have awareness and insight, right? And I can look
Hmm.
at it very differently. But I think at the time, I didn't give it much thought really like that. I think I just wanted to feel a little bit buzzed.
Yeah. I didn't either. I didn't know it was social
But
anxiety.
probably
I
it
just wanted to
was.
feel looser. I wanted to, yeah, but it
Yeah. But
was.
it must be some
Yeah.
form of me showing up just like
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
is not enough,
Good enough.
or I don't feel whatever it is. I love that we can talk about because these are the important.
Right.
questions that we need to ask ourselves when we start thinking, am I drinking too much? And if I am, maybe you get shame with that thought.
Of course.
But we're trying to change that culture to be, no, don't have shame. We don't think that when we're thinking, am I drinking too much coffee?
Hmm.
You don't have like, oh, the shitload of shame, like,
Right.
oh my
I'm not
God,
going to
I'm
tell anybody I'm having too much
a
coffee.
coffeeholic,
Right.
because I'm drinking
Exactly.
too much. But it's like we think, you start thinking these things, and it was starting to become a problem because I started hiding how much I was drinking. And my husband, he was a social drinker, but I don't know if it's just my spirit. I kind of have this free spirit. I'm like a gypsy spirit.
Hmm.
Um, it's very easy for me. It was very easy for me to kind of just let loose and let go, where maybe he's more of a, now I need to be, the take care, the more in control person. We definitely have those different personalities. So maybe it started at first where I didn't want him to worry about me. Like, I've got this. He doesn't need
Hmm.
to, right? But that was a lie telling myself, because it became to where I don't have
I
this.
don't.
I'm taking swigs in the other room, while everybody's just enjoying their wine out here. And then I'm coming out to enjoy the wine out here.
Yeah.
That
No.
started happening that decade in my 50s.
And did that register at the moment when you were, say going to the kitchens, having a couple quick shots of wine? Were you like, "Ooh, I shouldn't be doing this," or did it just not even register at that time, or you just suppressed it? Which,
I think that if I did think, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, it wasn't because it was my own
yes,
limit. It was because I didn't want maybe him or my grown children or other family members to maybe think, oh, she's way more there than
yeah,
any of us. We're all just having a glass of wine, and
right.
Rebecca's like three sheets, And of course, you don't think you are.
That was my next question because for me, I would,
You show
I
up
drink
thinking
like
you're thinking you're.
two martinis before dinner, and I'm thinking I'm fine, and then of course the next day I realized I wasn't. Yeah,
No, of course not. And I mean, I think we get pretty good at, alcohol. It's just such a sneaky, negative, dark energy.
it is.
And so I look at it very much as, I think we've probably talked about this too, like an abusive relationship.
Mm, toxic boyfriend.
It
Yeah,
almost is, because it kind of lures you in, and it's on your side when you're being sneaky, or
yeah.
it's like that girlfriend that's like, oh, come on,
Hmm.
whatever. That energy becomes that, or it did for me.
Me too. No, it's a great visual, definitely. And like the toxic boyfriend, you keep taking him back because you're like, oh, it's going to be different this time.
Yeah, or I'm
Things
in
are going to
control.
change.
I've got
I'm in
this. I'm in
control.
control. I'm in control. I think I really thought I was in control.
And yeah, and that's that journey of when we start to become aware of, we stop for a while and then we like, I got this. Okay, I'll stop for
Yeah.
10 days. I can go back to drinking.
Oh yeah. I aced the
Right.
30 day, and I
Hmm.
thought, oh,
Right. Yeah, I got
no,
that.
no problem here. Um, and that was after that decade. I call it the decade, 50s, because
Hmm.
by 60 it had gotten where I was really allowing alcohol to abuse me, and I was abusing it.
And did
And
your husband
why?
know, or did you keep it from him?
He knew enough
Hmm.
to where, see, I would become very defensive
Me
and
too.
very, I mean, if you told me you thought I was drinking too much, I was going to show you what drinking too much really looked like.
I can relate to that. My husband would say, "Okay, tonight we need a strategy." Well, when he used the "we," I'd be like, "You can take your "we," and you can shove it.
You
I'm gonna
use
go
your own.
out." Yeah, like that just did
I'm on
not
my
work on
own
me.
here. I know. What is it about is we become so defiant.
Yeah,
Like, I'm telling you, it's really this conniving
I agree.
energy. And now I can look at it like that, which is one of the reasons I think when I finally decided, that I'd had enough, I just had no clue how to make it
Yeah,
last. Um,
me neither. I think this is so important, though. I just want to stop here because by this time you're in your 60s.
Yes. Well, I had just turned 60 when I discovered, right before, I think I was 59, right around there. I can't remember, but when I came across the quote by Annie Grace, it said, would your life be happier if you were drinking less?
Mm,
What would it feel like if alcohol was small and irrelevant in your life? And
yes.
that just like, boom, it just that was like, well, I didn't say you can't drink,
Right.
you have a problem, you're drink. It was just kind of this thing like, what? So
It was the
that's,
curiosity piece. Sorry. So it was, we were just always shaming and blaming ourselves like, oh man, I'm drinking too much. I don't want to tell anybody. I'm going to pretend that didn't happen. But that question, because I saw it too, and that means you and I are both doing research. Am I an alcoholic? You're Googling, what can I do? And that popped up. But that was that, like, all of a sudden someone was asking it in a curious way. What
yes,
if your life could be different
if
and you're
alcohol was small
small?
and
Yes, it was
irrelevant.
brilliant.
I
Yeah.
love that wording because
Mm-hmm.
it meant you could,
Yeah.
and it definitely was not that to me at that point.
Ooh.
In fact, I was coming home. I remember specifically, I had been kind of on a girls' trip for the weekend. There was a lot of wine drinking, and I was flying home. We all lived in different places, so we all went our separate ways. And of course, I was probably into my second glass of wine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what I was Googling was, is red wine good for you? Or how much isn't, that whole thing because of the antioxidants. And if you're going
Yeah.
to
And that was
drink,
probably like your eighth
wine,
time ever Googling
oh,
that.
yeah,
Like, like keep looking for the confirmation bias. We want to find the
you
answer.
want to find it, you want
Yeah.
to, yeah, say,
Mm-hmm.
aha. And then, of course,
You
I'd
can.
ignore the, 4 ounces of red wine. It's
Right.
like,
Who drinks that? That's too time consuming. Pour it all in one glass.
but that's what popped up.
Yeah.
And it just really, really stayed with me. But I think I
Mm-hmm.
waited a whole year and did a 30-day break during COVID because COVID hit
Yes.
months after that. And, everybody was drinking more.
Everybody. Yeah.
Everybody that drank was drinking more, at least in my world.
Same. Oh yeah, we get on Zooms, have happy
Oh, yeah,
hours,
remember that? Happy hours
like
on
it's
Zoom.
2 in the afternoon, 3. Yeah, it's
Let's start
ridiculous.
Zoom at 1 today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah. It was just a big excuse, a big,
yeah, an
I mean, we
excuse.
were all stressed. We didn't know what was going on, and we were
Yeah,
using it to numb and calm
yeah.
ourselves down. And yeah, again, doing the best we could with what we had.
But Maureen, what started happening is it started catching up to me in the sense that I was feeling really bloated. And I had always um, I'd always been interested in health and aging well, mentally, physically, spiritually. I always sought after these spiritual masters. They just taught me so much, and they still do. Um, and like I loved Tai Chi and
Mm-hmm.
yoga and anything that was balance, helping me balance. And just, I was soaking up so much information about like the universe and potential. But, I was drinking a lot of wine.
Yeah.
And I started realizing that I wasn't painting as much anymore. I didn't really even want to. And so my creativity was really, well, it was being numbed out.
Yeah. Because we
Um,
can't selectively numb with alcohol, right? You
no,
want to numb the bad stuff, COVID going on, but it's dulling your creativity. You were finding, and I know that was so important to you all throughout your life, your creativity.
yeah. And now it was like, I think I'll just drink instead of
Mm-hmm.
paint. Um, it keeps you really small. Um, but I did, so then during that COVID period, I had I was drinking so much that I thought, I kind of started looking up Annie Grace again. And I started listening to some podcasts, and it just, like with all of us that have listened to her and, have been taught by her,
Mm-hmm.
um, so much of it just resonates because we all end up realizing we have so much of the same story. Anybody that's over drinking We all, well, once we start talking about it openly and without shame and
Yeah.
any kind of criticism or there's anything wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with us. It's an addictive substance. We got
Yeah. It's a
addicted to an
drug.
addictive substance. Exactly. It does what it's supposed to do. Um, and when you can look at it like that, which is what I hope our messages
Mm-hmm.
on these podcasts is, yeah, there's nothing wrong with you questioning it. And there's nothing wrong with you wondering, could I, what would it be like? So I did a 30-day break. Like I said, I think mentally I was ready because I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of sick of the alcohol. Like, it was kind of making me gag. This is so weird.
Oh yeah,
I
we keep
remember
drinking even though we didn't
really
really
want it,
enjoy it
and you're not
anymore.
getting the same. I
Ew.
wasn't even getting the same buzz anymore.
Mm-mm.
It was taking me a lot more alcohol to even feel what I thought I was chasing. And
Mm-hmm.
um, so anyway, ace that 30-day, I thought, oh,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. I can really moderate. But what I discovered that year was that when life really hits you, the things that can come our way, we don't know, it could be anything, but
Mm-hmm.
anything devastating. If we don't have the tools, and I did not, just to say, oh, I don't want to drink for 30 days, that was one thing.
Right.
But when I was faced, and I always consider myself pretty stable, pretty strong, emotionally, I'm not like all over the place typically. But when something hits you that you're not prepared for, it was just like spiral. And I thought, oh, just tonight I'm going to drink. I
Mm-hmm.
remember that. And I had been like maybe 3 months of maybe having a glass of wine once a week because I still hadn't decided that I just really didn't want to. I didn't know that I wanted to become a non drinker then.
Right. Right.
So that was in July. And I drank heavily from that July to that December. And it got ugly, like internally, like it was really a struggle, a fight, like, do I even still really even need to be here?
Yeah.
That
It's
kind of,
such a depressant.
when you're I wasn't thinking that way when I wasn't intoxicated.
Right.
But intoxicated, it was like another whole other, uh, I call it an energy, a voice
Mm-hmm.
was coming in. And you're so three sheets, but yet you're aware of this conversation going on. You're in almost a different dimension, if you will.
Well, especially if you're drinking on a regular basis, consistently, the brain chemistry is continuing to change because your brain's trying to adapt and survive, actually.
Right.
And yeah, so this is what's happening, this low level of anxiety, and it doesn't take much, like an event, a death in the family or something like that, to push you over the
Right
edge.
over. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, I mean, these people, when I say these people, the coaches that I was
Yeah.
hearing and watching, it was like, wow, they've been here, right? And it's like, if I can get there
Mm-hmm.
and help even just that was like my kind of my prayer. And of course, it's been, twofold, threefold, tenfold since then. But
Yeah.
it really is being serious that you want to, that you want to make a change. Um, and then opening up yourself to the help that will come to you. That's
Yeah.
the simplest way
I love that.
I can put it because you almost don't have to go looking. Once your heart opens to, please, this is it. It's
Mm-hmm.
incredible to me how the help comes flooding in.
Yeah. At first, the awareness, right? Because when
Yes,
you were in that phase when we were drinking, we didn't care.
right.
It wouldn't matter what anybody said. But when you start becoming aware, like, ooh, this is not working for me anymore. I don't feel good. I don't like who I am. Don't like how I'm showing up. But then when you learn to be vulnerable and you're in with a community of other people that are going through the same thing, people like you who, are smart, intelligent, they're working hard, they care about their body, and they want to change their relationship with alcohol too. They haven't hit a rock bottom, but they're feeling pretty bad.
Yeah,
Well, all that helped so much. I'm shaking my head yes to your whole story.
because you could. Is that kind of how you
Yeah.
were?
Oh yeah. And I was so depressed, and I'd already had depression. I shared with you when I was on your podcast most of my life. And so this was just like, pouring gasoline on a fire.
Yeah. Boy, it's just, if we, again, I look at it as such a destructive force
Mm-hmm.
that none of us begin
Oh,
being at a wedding and celebrating with a glass of champagne to say, I hope one day I really have a problem with this liquid.
yeah. And it doesn't happen to everybody. And I'm sure you have this with your clients. Some, they'll inevitably say, why can't I drink like so and so? Why am I struggling with this? And then we make that we are the problem and not the substance.
Substance,
Because
exactly. And we also don't know what that other person that we're comparing ourselves to is also going through. And that's something
exactly.
that I had to learn.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of things like really try not to compare yourself,
Yeah.
right? Because, man, we're all individuals and we all have our unique, gifts, but also our challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all going to go through the life differently. I think the only thing we do have in common is this yearning because we know there's something more.
Yeah.
I
If
mean,
you
it's like,
listen to it, if you listen to that yearning.
yes, there's that little nudge. I
Mm-hmm.
always say, it starts with like an idea, like, can I really be a person that doesn't drink? Starts like an idea like that.
Or let's call it curiosity. And that's why I want to weave in here. I love the name of your coaching business, your podcast, what you do. It's called Curious on Life.
Yeah.
Because it does start with curiosity instead of beating yourself up and being willing to be open. So you went through coaching, you started making changes, you realized you wanted to help people, which always helps us get out of ourselves.
Yes, it does. I just, yes, to all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
then as the years have gone on, I've realized that this journey, giving up alcohol is just kind of, it was huge
Yeah,
when before I had done
so
that.
huge.
It felt like, this wall that I could never scale, or maybe I could, but, I felt like that was, if I could do that, like, then I've done it.
Yeah.
But then you realize you do that and it's like, you get over the wall and there's this whole beautiful space that you can actually come in and help heal
Mm-hmm.
in your own way because everybody doesn't need what I'm
Mm-hmm.
offering. Everybody doesn't need necessarily what Maureen's offering or what any of us that help people, kick
I
this.
love that. That's a great segue because what you got back in touch with was your creativity. And then you thought, well, how can I help other people get in touch and use creativity for healing? Is that right?
And that's what happened. It was like, and that wasn't a plan
Yeah.
necessarily, but that's how the universe worked with me when I opened up my heart and my mind and said, like, I'm an open vessel. And then things, the workshops kind of started art as healing because for me, it's a way to access the part of ourselves that we don't have words for. It's really my own
Mm-hmm.
experience. And
Yeah.
that was always the safe space for me was painting. Like nobody could say, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's just my place to express. And so, what I've learned, and now with a lot of other training and through this like sound healing, vibrational
Mm-hmm.
healing, painting water, just watching the movement of water, and color move around on paper, just experiencing that is like this flow of energy, and
Mm-hmm.
you can tap in and you feel so light and you're able to walk away from these experiences like so much lighter.
The crazy thing is that actually gives you the high, the neurotransmitter boost we're looking for, and it increases your feel good neurotransmitters and for a much longer time. Whereas alcohol is very short term, but it depletes
Yes.
the neurotransmitters because I'm always coming from the science
Yes, which
side
is
of
so
it.
important.
Yeah,
Yes.
but creativity and science completely work together because creativity is so good for our brain.
Yes, and
And so
it's
you
the
start
natural
teaching,
dopamine, right? The
yeah,
natural
natural,
highs. It's so
which is
true.
what we want. And, GABA. And so then you're like, I'm going to mix these two, coaching people and art. And tell us about how unfolded, I guess.
So unfolded as I started working more and more with women, and it felt that that was who came kind of looking for me, or I was attracting women well into 60s and 70s, and
Makes
maybe
sense.
had already given up the
Hmm.
alcohol piece. And now our unfold started out because we're learning the different pieces of us once alcohol is no
Yeah.
longer. So, like, just very simply, like it's an 8 week program. So, like, the first week could be about, you know, turning out the fog, getting out of the fog. And we do some creative work, and we also do like coaching once a week.
Hmm.
And there's some exercises, and then like we talk about our reflecting our voice another week, creative courage. There's just different topics each week where we end up with identifying and expressing who we want to be, and then integration, and then
Hmm.
finishing it all up, with celebration and radiance. So we're coming
Love it.
kind of out of the fog and into the brilliance. And that's why I just feel that women, especially because we carry so much. And, I've been doing some of the ancestral work and learning. And I feel like the alcohol piece, once we give that up and we say, okay, we have purpose.
Yeah.
We have so much more. There's so much more to life than this liquid that we think.
Yeah, and you're bringing up such an important point, because in this world of coaching that's grown massive, there's a lot of promises out there on the internet, like you'll stop drinking and you'll lose 10 pounds and you'll feel great and your relationships will be wonderful. And it's a process on the other side of alcohol too, to rediscover yourself
Yes,
and to continue the curiosity piece into your alcohol free lifestyle. And it's a growth. I mean, I'm over 3.5 years now alcohol free, and I continue to grow and change and learn. And so I think that's really important. And I love your program.
congratulations on that
Yeah.
too.
Thank you.
That's so cool. This December will be 5.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's like, and I don't even, I'm probably like you. I mean,
Yeah.
I have to really think about it. Um, but yeah, so the alcohol really does become small,
Hmm.
and it's not even about, because then you start looking at so many things in life that are keeping you stuck. It maybe alcohol was a big one for sure,
Yep.
but then you start, once you get that piece out of the way, and to your point, we begin to reinvent. We begin to imagine, how do we want to show up in this world? We begin to get the support from each other that we can, like, do just about anything we set our minds to do. And alcohol is such a liar, and it keeps us
It
so,
is
that
small. I love how you say that. It keeps us small.
it really does. And so I think our message for women and for men, of course, that
Yeah.
what I can relate so much more to, women, and that have gone through so many
Yeah.
decades of
Of
life.
course.
Um, yeah, it's just, and to your point, we're constantly learning, and the journey never ends. And who knows what's next year, right, for us?
No, it's the curiosity piece. So your title is so apropos, Curious on Life. And I want everybody to hear, that you can change in your 60s and 70s. And Rebecca has done it and is doing it, and she's leading others through it with her creative programs and coaching. So how can people find you, Rebecca, if they're looking for you?
Very easily. The website is my full name, and I'm sure it's long. So
Which will be in the show notes.
Rebecca Guevara Wingler.com. And then you can also find me on Instagram at Curious on Life.
Yeah. And you have a podcast too, correct?
I do, Curious on Life, the podcast. So do check it out.
Yeah, so check it out. And I'm so glad you came on to be a guest on Sober Fit Life. And I could talk to you for a long time. I really enjoy talking with you.
Thank you, Maureen. And thank you for having me. And thank you for creating this beautiful space for people to find freedom and live their best life at any stage in life.
Thank you. Same to you. Stay curious on life, everybody.
Awesome.
Have you ever Googled, "Am I an alcoholic?" Me too. And here's the thing, it's not a helpful question. Those quizzes just slap on a label. Yes, you are. No, you're not. But what if it's not about the label and more about how drinking actually makes you feel? That's why I created Am I Drinking Too Much? It's the quiz I wish had existed when I was searching. No scare tactics, no rock bottom required. You'll get your results and a free guide that explains gray area drinking, plus 3 science-backed strategies to reduce or interrupt cravings. Take it at soberfitchick.com/MI. That's MI, as in, am I drinking too much? Soberfitchick.com/MI.